Real estate agents, if you're thinking social media content is going to be the secret lead gen tool and that's the value it brings to your business, you're sadly mistaken. I'm going to show you how social media actually helps you from a tactical perspective and what you're probably not understanding about the process, which is probably why you're struggling to make content consistently. And let's jump into that right now. So, guys, my name is Cole. I run Jarvis Media Consolidated. We had some results at the bottom here, which I'll jump back to so you can kind of see this is the results we've gotten for a lot of real estate agents that we work with. And so that's part of the reason, the expertise that we bring to the table, and why this video is going to help you as a real estate agent grow with social media. So, first and foremost, why social media matters even without lead gen. The problem I have happen all the time, and I'll tell you a quick story. This is what a lot of people go through. I had a person I jumped on a sales call with, right? Somebody who had been interested in my business. They had went through our lead gen funnel, gotten a meeting with me, and I was explaining stuff. So I asked him, I'm like, well, what are you interested in? Brand awareness, or are you looking more for a lead generation? He said, well, lead generation, obviously, what else is the reason to be on social media? And I stopped for a second because it just showed how clearly this person didn't understand all the value that social media brings, even before we talk about lead gen. Is social media amazing for lead generation? Yes, it 100% can be if you know what you're doing. But a lot of people get wrapped up in that. They think that's the only benefit, and it leads them to make a lot of content, which actually hurts them in their brand and hurts their lead generation. So I want you to kind of reset your mind here, because what we're going to focus on shows the value without lead gen. And then, yeah, sure, you can jump on lead gen and put that on there as well. But the biggest power that social media has for a real estate agent is establishing their brand. When we say brand, it's very vague, but I'm going to break down 3 core reasons why this is going to help you. So first and foremost is time savings. It's very funny when people say, hey, I don't have time to make social media content. One, you don't have to make content all the live long day, right? Better content is better than just a lot of bad content. But also, time savings is a very funny thing, because when I talk to a lot of people, they say, yeah, my goal is to grow my business. I'm not making as much money as I would like to. And to which I say, okay, if you're not making the amount of money that you want to make, then that means the results, the actions that you're taking right now are not yielding you where you want to be. So inherently, we have to do something different, right? If we did the same thing, then purely we could almost guarantee that we would stay in the exact same position, right? So we know we have to do something different. Now, a lot of people are forgetting social media, so that's a great place to start, opening up your marketing channels on social media to see if that can drive growth. But the funny thing is that when we say, okay, we know we have to do more marketing, right? We probably also have to do better marketing, but let's just say simply we need to do more marketing. That will help us get us to our goal, right? Which is great, because we're doing something different to achieve a different outcome than what we've seen so far. So we're on a right path, at least logically speaking. Now, if we're talking about let's do more marketing, let's just get in front of more people. We'll think about, what's the perfect strategy later. Let's just do more, which is a great place to start. Well, okay, we're talking about, how we want to get in front of more people. Well, we have door knocking. That's something that you can do at any time and nothing is stopping you from doing it. You also have cold calling. You could also buy some leads and email them. Or we can make content. Now, which of these do you think is the best bang for your buck, the best time savings that you could have, right? We could door knock. Okay, let's say it takes roughly between knocking on the door, average, let's say, waiting on the door, walking to the next door if they don't answer, which most people aren't going to answer their door. Let's say it takes on average, 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of time. So then cold calling. Okay, well, let's say we're going to cold call people. Let's say it only takes like a minute or so. Let's not even count how much time it takes, right? Let's instead think, okay, well, if I have to cold call people, then how many people do I have to call before I see a result, right? It's going to be a lot of people. But let's just say, actually, let's use the time argument because I think it'll be even better there. Let's say it only takes 1 minute on average to cold call people, kind of not even taking into account when you actually get somebody who's interested, but that is very far and few between anyway, so we won't worry about that. Buying leads. So the average industry standard for buying, tangible quality cold leads would be about $20. Okay, right? That's like the industry standard that I've seen. Great. Okay. And so let's say content. Well, you can make a pretty good piece of content in let's say 5 minutes, right? Okay, awesome. So what are we going to do here? What's the best return on our investment, not only from a money standpoint, because keep in mind, all of these besides the buying lead generation is free. So actually, you know what, let's just say this, $20 per lead, that's a little pricey. If you're not doing well, that might be hard to kind of, get your head around. Let's cross that out completely. And let's just say, okay, we're only going to do things that are free for us to do. So we have door knocking, cold calling, and making content. Okay. Last time you put out a video on social media, if you have, you probably got somewhere around like maybe 50 to 100 views, right? If you're not being consistent at all and you're kind of just made a video out of nowhere, and that probably didn't feel good, right? You got like 50 to 100 views and you said, wow, there's so many people making millions of views, this feels like a failure. Well, let's think about this. Okay, if you door knocked, let's say 100 doors, that would be 500 minutes that would have taken from a door knocking perspective. Instead, we used 5 minutes of our time and we got as much value as we would have gotten out of 5 minutes out of door knocking because we got in front of 30 or 50 to 100 people, right? So, okay, well, then that means, okay, obviously, door knocking doesn't really make sense. And even if we're cold calling, if it's 1 minute and we get in front of 100 people, that's 100 minutes, right? That's over an hour and a half of our time. Or we can make a piece of content which is 5 minutes long. From a time perspective alone, just to get in front of the same people, making content saves you a bunch of time. And we know we need to be doing something different because we want a different result. So we inherently have to do something different. Doing more is the best place to start because you don't have to think, you can just do more. And 5 minutes is how long it would take a piece of content. A piece of content that you think is bad results would be like an amazing day of door knocking. So just think about that. Next is our shadow funnel. So I have multiple videos on this. I won't dive in too deep, but basically you have a normal funnel that people are pretty familiar with, especially if you're using like a good CRM. So you have people who are kind of cold, and then you have people, in the middle of the funnel after you've contacted them a couple of times who are warm, and then you get like a hot lead, then you might call them or you might get on a meeting with them. That's how a basic funnel works, right? The problem is we forget oftentimes about the shadow funnel. And this actually just happened to me not too long ago. I had somebody in my funnel and I can track where they are. And right when they got to the middle of the funnel, they opted in, I got their information. I was hitting them up with some things to schedule a call. They were right in the middle of my funnel. That is when, guess what? They followed me on Instagram, they followed me on Facebook, and they started watching my content. That's kind of interesting. This shadow funnel over here, what it does is it helps people become familiarized with your brand. It's almost like a video sales letter where once people are saying, oh, I'm interested in what this person does, then they'll say, oh, okay, now let me go see their content. And they say, oh, wow, that's an interesting video. That applies to me. Oh, this video applies to me. Oh, interesting. Like this person really knows what they're talking about. And this is how you build credibility. And of course, brand awareness too. So that by the time that you are on that cold call, or not cold call, but that call that, is in your funnel, or you're talking to them, or you're talking with that very engaged lead, you've already built up a lot of credibility, right? It's like being a mini influencer. And so that's a huge benefit that your content has. Even when you don't feel like it's getting you leads, it's making your leads you currently have more understanding of your brand and more qualified because they understand your credibility, and going into the call, they're more warm, right? And lastly, influence. So influence is really important. We know influencers are really powerful. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson started a tequila brand called Terramana, and that brand is worth over $3 billion now. And I'll tell you right now, it's not because they discovered the secret sauce for tequila. It's because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a massive influencer. So when he posts pictures to his Instagram every once in a while of drinking this tequila, people say, oh, wow, that's awesome. I want to try that too. So that's the power of an influencer. Kylie Jenner with Kylie Cosmetics was the youngest female self-made billionaire in history from Kylie Cosmetics. Not even her TV show, from Kylie Cosmetics, because of the awareness she had from her TV show and the massive audience that she has cultivated. So what we want you to do is become a mini influencer. And here's the way to think about this. We don't want you to get in front of everybody. We want you to get in front of just your audience. So let's say you have, this town that you do business in, right? And you want to have more people, and that's my view of a town, right? You want to have more people interested in your content, right? Well, if you make content about your market and about how people in your market can have a better real estate experience and how they can be better off and how you can save them money, or even without talking about you, you just help them. You target this audience And guess what? You can kind of be the master of that audience. You can be the real estate agent who gives people the advice that they need to know. You help people with their credit, maybe, or you tell people how to get the best bang for their buck, or the renovations that are going to increase their equity the highest. All of these things are tactical ways that you can become the mini influencer in your market. And how does that help? Well, just like those brands that The Rock started or Kylie started, you have the power to build an audience of people who know, like, and trust you. And that level of trust is so strong because you've already helped them frequently. And then what that does is it helps honestly, the shadow funnel, and it gives you more credibility so more people understand you and they want to work with you before you even take the time to get to know them. Guys, social media is immensely powerful, even without lead gen. And guess what? If you tack lead gen on there, then you're kind of bulletproof.